Up today, I have got the Tactile Turn Bolt Pen made by Will Hodges out of Garland, Texas. I've previously reviewed some Tactile Turn pens, the mover and shaker pens here, and even an early version of one of those. And for a while, one of the guys I work with has had one of their bolt action pens, and eventually finally said, hey, you know, I played with it for a while, and what the heck, I want to check one of those out. And I picked one of them up, which I have here. Side note on Will and the things that he puts into his pens, he was initially using the Schmidt knock. The knock is the mechanism part back here, and this mechanism is used by a ton of custom pen manufacturers. And he was just not thrilled with this, so he said, what the heck, I'm going to make my own. And it is easier to use, it's a little easier to push. And so he's just decided, well, I'm going to make my own stuff, and these are the results of that. He's not making these pens anymore. They are great pens. I've had them for a while. And then I was working with my friend who had this one, and I played with it, and I said, hey, let me check that out. And then, like I said, finally decided to pick one up, and here we have the Bolt Action Mini. He previously had the slider and grinder pens, a long and short version of these. I'll get into some of the modifications he's done in just a little bit here, but let me talk about this pen first. This pen now comes in 3 lengths, standard, short, and mini. Previously called the slider and grinder for long and short, similar to when there was mover and shaker for long and short that I couldn't keep them straight. I mean, the name doesn't really matter in the end. It's not like you have this pen, you're showing it to someone, you say, here's my slider, or maybe it's my grinder. I don't know. But here's my pen. So the names are not a huge deal, but I do like now that they are called standard, short, and mini. This one here is the mini. The lengths on them are 4.4. I'm going to throw this one in as a placeholder because it is the same size. 5.1 and 5.6 inches. They come in 4 base materials: bronze, copper, titanium, and zirconium. The titanium, copper, and bronze are all $99. The zirconium, being a more premium metal, is $249. And if you check out his website, he also occasionally has some limited edition ones all the way up to a $799 Damascus pen. So some really nice versions of these if you happen to find that he has some in stock, you want to pick up something a little bit nicer. But the base ones are plenty fine. They're beautiful pens in their own right. Some other modifications you can do to this pen is that you can add a Damascus bolt here for $20. Adds a little bit of nicer flair to it compared to just a regular titanium bolt. Does look a little bit nicer. And then also, if you want, you can have the clip engraved for $10 in either direction, right-handed or left-handed, so that when you're holding it, you can read it. A little Easter egg feature of these pens is that on the back of the clip, they say Tactile Turn and where they were made. You can see that my pen was made in 2019, and my friend's pen was made in 2017, and my older mover and shaker pens were Kickstarter projects, and so they have a K on them for that. The refills that come with these pens, the Mini has a Pilot G2 Mini. The refills for this are going to be a little bit harder to find because those Mini refills are obviously a little bit smaller, whereas the longer versions come with regular Pilot G2s or Schmidt Easy Flow 9000s. Looking at the construction of this pen, you can see that the body overall has these very fine ridges, I'll call them. Very fine milling from the CNC machine. And what these do is they help hide little mini scratches and imperfections. Similar to, here's the original one, and you can see this one did not have those, and this does have a lot more visible scratches. So these little ridges are going to help hide that. They also give just the right amount of grip when you're holding it, I'll say. Not too much, not too little. It's not going to slide out of your hand at all. The pocket clip here, there's a little notch right in here so that clip is not going to go anywhere. It's not going to turn. Although I will say my friend's clip here over time has become a little bit loose. You can see there's a little bit of play in it. And right on this side here, the metal has kind of almost like billowed out a little bit. So it made that a little bit loose. That said, I've had these other pens for several years and the pocket clips are still rock solid. So maybe that's just a one-off with his pen and he just got unlucky. But otherwise it should be nice and very stable in there. The pocket clip is nice and stiff. There's a good amount of turn up there so you can get that over a pocket. And then once it's in there, it's a pretty stiff clip, so the pen is not going to come out of your pocket. It should be pretty well locked in there. And then the big selling point of the pen here is the bolt action. And this just slips right down into place there. It's locked in, and when you're done with it, just push it and it's out. Now this is an improvement from the old pen, where you can see it. There was this whole almost half circle here, where when you're opening it, you had to push it down and around. It required a little more fine motor control. down and around. And he modified it to just this almost little quarter circle. And this is easier because all you pretty much have to do is push it down and it's there. Down, there's no pushing it around. It's just down and there. And then when you go to push it back out, just snaps back out, almost like it's a vacuum almost. One of the other things I realized with this pen is that it's obviously not a clicky. There's no button back here to click. With my other pens, the clickies that I have, sometimes when I put them in my pocket and I'd sit down, just the material from my pants would cause the pen to open, and then you have a pen in your pocket that's open. Not a huge deal depending on what you're wearing, but you really don't want the pen open in your pocket. Because of this, there is no chance of the pen coming open in your pocket when you sit down, no matter how you carry this pen. So the pen is going to be a lot safer in that respect. Now, what about writing with this pen? One of the concerns I had with this pen being the mini version of it, being only 4.4 inches, is how comfortable would it be to write with? I have medium-sized hands, and in my hand, it fits actually perfectly fine. I had some concerns about either the clip rubbing on my hand, causing some discomfort, or the bolt, because it's right down in there rubbing on my hand. But for the most part, you hold the pen in really just the one way, and both of them are plenty out of the way. If you get one of the longer versions, those are obviously going to be extra not a problem because the mechanism is all up above your hand. But even the short version, it's really not a big deal because you hold it there and neither of them rub on your hand. The only downside I would say about this short version is that when you go to open it, you hold it like this, and pushing it down here, it is very easy until you get used to it. It will open and you end up writing on yourself a little bit because it's just natural with where you have to put your thumb. You get it down in there and you may get a little bit of ink on your hand. Not a huge deal. And eventually after you kind of get used to it, you'll hold it just a little bit differently when you open it so that the ink is not coming out into your hand. But with the longer versions of the pen, you don't have that because the pen obviously sticks out past your hand and you're at less risk for writing on yourself. Small thing. I think the sweet spot, for me anyway, would be the medium-sized version of this, the short version at 5.1 inches, because it's just long enough that I think it will not be on your hand when you're trying to open it and not too long in your pocket. That said, I will say that this short version is really nice for when you want to carry a small pen where you don't want a big long pen sticking all the way down in your pocket, whichever kind of pocket you're carrying it in, be shirt pocket or pants pocket. So the compact size of this pen is nice. There are just a few trade-offs with opening and closing it with that, and writing with it, not a big deal, but some people will prefer a little bit longer pen, but still, it's plenty comfortable to write with. No problems there. Not bad. And then opening this, you can see it is so well machined that you cannot see where the opening where the cap is. I actually, when I got it, I thought the only open was in the back here until I finally realized that there is one up on the front here. And depending on how slippery your hands might be a little hard to open. There we go. Actually, cut myself just a little bit opening it. Not a big deal. Not cut, but the edges are sharp. So you open it, and there's a little O-ring here. And then there's that little mini pilot refill. Overall, this is a fantastic pen. This bolt mechanism is reminiscent of knives when you just want to sit there and flip them open and close them because they're so fun to play with. This bolt mechanism, you just want to sit there and open it and close it and open it and close it. It's kind of like a little toy. It's fun to play with. But a fantastic pen, nice size for when you want something, like I said, small to carry in your pocket. But if you want something a little bit larger, check out one of the larger versions of this pen. Check out the different metals. I will put some links down below to Will's website. You can check them out there. But there you have it, the Tactile Turn Bolt Pen.